Good evening and welcome to my end of the week recap video here for Apple. I was able to take a few trades since my last video. Excuse me. Over here just after the new year, the gap down on negative news. I wanted to wait and see what's going to happen. I didn't think it was going to fall too far or too much further than that. Looked like a capitulation day anyways. So the next day I was looking for a break above. I got in some 145 calls here at 131. Those trailed me out up here at $2. Later on in the day, had a trigger set up here on the daily time frame, so I got some 25 January 155 calls here and 151. Next day, nothing voided the plan. Went ahead and I added some in almost on lows of that day, which was almost a perfect entry right there. The next day, I added as trade started working here at 189. Worked my average up, but I was still close enough to my target. It looked like it was a pretty high probability of taking my profits off. So as it moved up, I took some off here at the 8 EMA, took some more off on the first time it trailed out on lower time frame, and then the next day, I believe there was some negative news that came out here on Tuesday, or excuse me, Wednesday, and looked like it was going to break below this little consolidation area. It didn't break down all the way, reclaimed it, and took me out here at 220. Left a lot on the table there on that move because those did get very close to in the money, so I had plenty of time left on them. So I just trailed a little bit too close there, got a nice profit, and want to go look for what's going to go on next week. A couple of notes here. Above this triangle, all I'm really looking at here is 175 calls for, oops, I should say June. Yeah, I'm actually looking for 175 calls should do it. um, versus the bottom of this pennant. So my thesis is this is the start of a bottom. Yeah, it looks pretty bad. There's a lot of negativity on Apple in the news right now and all that good stuff. Um, but price action kind of has a tendency to repeat itself, especially with Apple anyways. So this here's a weekly time frame. Huge sell-off, which is obvious since last October. Huge sell-off. I mean, it's down from 233 to 140. So in a matter of a couple of months. Now the question is, has it happened before? And the further out I zoom, it's obvious it does. Parabolic run, pullback, parabolic run, pullback, parabolic run, blah, 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 all the way up. So if this company is going to continue making money, which they most likely are, if they're going to find ways to grow, which they probably are, they just need to innovate, in my opinion, um, it's not going to crash any further than this, at least not in my opinion. Um, so that brings up the question, where can I buy in on lows with the least amount of risk? Right now on the monthly time frame, still in process, but it looks like we're putting in a fairly long wick, which could imply that there's still buyers down below. The weekly time frame, this purple line is a 200-week moving average. Just coincidentally happens to have touched last week's low. We've now put in an inside bar here for this week. This is a potential bullish harami, which can be used as a reversal type of pattern to go back in the overall trend of things. As you can see, if I zoom out further, each and every time we've come from above the 200 SMA, 200 week moving average, and come down into it. We found support 3 times in a row. My bet is going to be this is going to be the 4th time. So I'm looking for plays out into June 2019, maybe even January 2020. I'm going to start with a break above this little flag, because if that is the play, then this is the base that I have to trade against. It's going to be essentially from this 155 down to 142. So $13 of risk for a fairly large swing. Now, if I'm wrong on this play and price action breaks below this 150-ish area, I'll just get out, wait for it to pull back down a little bit further. It may need to retest these lows again. So my risk is very well known. Reward is going to be essentially move back up at least halfway up these all-time highs. Each time that it's tested here, it's only taken a matter of a couple of weeks. If you're buying very close to the 200 moving average, it only takes a couple of weeks to get some nice profits. So even if the big move doesn't happen right away, it's my belief that we're very close to at least the near-term, medium-term bottom here in Apple, and we're going to retrace some of this move. So for now, that's all I'm really looking for is some calls out in June. I'm not going to look to intraday trade Apple too much because the chops are kind of crazy. I'm willing to stomach a little drawdown to see if this play pans out. So for now, that's my plan for next week, what I'm looking at trying to get into. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Have a good weekend and good luck.